Yeah, just keep the mic close. What is up, everybody? We are back on the Lasagna show with our first guest, my good friend from the Twitter sphere, Jordan, was a very insightful guy. Glad to have him on. We did a lot of Twitter spaces where we had some really good conversations. So one of the first people I thought of to have a guest on and have a good constructive conversation, especially all things involving the Yankees, was this man right here, Jordan. Jordan, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to be on the show. You know, we've had a lot of talks with everybody on these spaces. I'm glad to just kind of start bouncing things off, letting people hear what they got to say and tell them what I think of things on a different perspective, because sometimes you just don't see things or just understand, like, okay, we want to know like why it's happening. It's like, how did it get to that point? You know, that's kind of like I see things, because trust me, I'm a Rodon shill. Like, I'm gonna make that clear now. I'm the biggest Rodon shill out here. But, you know, we just want to just make sure we get real good like coverage of the sport.
100%. So the point of this show, this is our first recap. We're going to go, game to game. We had the Orioles series most recently. No game today, obviously. So we're going to start with game one, work our way into game two, talk about game three, and then kind of see what we got coming up with the Rays series starting tomorrow. So starting with game one in this Orioles series. So I just wanted to know what were your expectations coming into that series, and after the series ended, what was your impression of the way the Yankees looked and how things turned out?
When seeing at least the pitching matchup side coming in from the Orioles, I didn't expect a sweep just because we had Warren and Carrasco, but I fully expected taking 2 out of 3 because, you know, you have a struggling Orioles rotation with Sugano, then you got, Kyle Gibson and Kate Povich, who's a decent arm, but he's definitely not like a top rotation guy. And so you're thinking, okay, we just had a good series. You're going to come in, you're going to go swing the bat really well. Everyone's starting to turn around. Belly looked pretty good. So you're thinking those things. And then, you kind of drop some duds, games you should have won, some mistakes, opportunities left on the board. You just got to kind of flush it, kind of keep going, and just, expect some of the guys who are starting to turn around like Belly. People won't like that. He's turning it around. Just trust me. He's hitting the ball more. He's starting to pull it. He's gotta pull it in the air if you really want success from Bellinger. If he puts it on the ground, he just turns into Verdugo 3.0.
Oh man, you are bringing up the PTSD from the Alex Verdugo experience. Definitely glad that is over. In full disclosure, I think Bellinger is going to be, once things heat up, once he figures things out, he's going to be a much more productive threat at the plate compared to what Verdugo was last season, who wore a path out to second base with the ground out to second base over and over and over and over again.
Got the red carpet.
There's I don't think it's Verdugo Street or Verdugo Avenue, whatever, in LA. As you're heading south, the Verdugo Street points to the right, where all his ground balls were going towards second base. So a little bit of a SoCal joke there. Don't expect New Yorkers to get it, but whatever. All right, back to game one. So Yankees had Will Warren on the mound. They were facing off against Sugano, who coming into the game had very low strikeout percentage. He wasn't striking a ton of guys out. We saw him starting the game throwing, 92 miles per hour. Started to see a little breaking ball, and then he started throwing that splitter. And that splitter started to,
becoming really effective.
2 strikes on guys, started bottom of the zone, break it down below the zone, and guys were chasing that thing all night. Sugano had 8 strikeouts, which I think was close to matching his season total for the whole season to this far. And it's been a short, short
series.
Sample size. But what did you see from Sugano, and what did you think about that splitter and the Yankees' approach to a guy they hadn't seen before?
From what you could see coming out from Sugano, from what I've heard from listening to other people on different podcasts, is that he never had overpowering stuff. They were wondering how he was going to play in coming over to the majors, and I was thinking expectly fully that these guys were going to be able to handle him. I knew a lot of Japan pitchers are a lot of command specialists, throw a lot of pitches. So I do think that sometimes that they were trying to just get out in front, and so then when they got in situations when they're not Jazz was putting himself in a lot of uncomfortable counts. Goldie didn't really seem comfortable at the plate because he was swinging at sinkers at way above the zone, splitters about to hit his hip. So you would think for a guy who's not overpowering, who gets a lot of soft contact, you would think that, hey, you'd still be able to put the ball somewhere, get some things going, but they just weren't picking up, especially when he got that splitter rolling. And then the night he started ticking up on the fastball. So then the separation kind of opened up, but still, I just don't think they were really recognizing it out of the hand and just kind of just guessing instead of actually seeing what's going on, because he would go, when he was behind on counts, he'd go backdoor, and then he'd try to double it up with the splitter. And if he swung at it, he's going to go one more time with it because he knows where you are.
Absolutely. And it's the age-old situation where the Yankees face a guy for the first time. It feels like it's happened over and over every year. Every time they face a guy they've never seen before, he always has a great
struggling
start.
too. Struggling pitcher, never played, and it's like I could go out there. I probably can give him six shot eight.
Hey, as long as you're someone they've never seen before, you got a fighting chance. So that's kind of frustrating there.
John,
Orioles
I do
offensively.
like the Brian Cruz pickup. Sorry, I was reading.
Oh yeah, I was seeing Joan in there talking about the Brian De La Cruz pickup.
Only if he's hitting lefties.
Yeah, kind of a wait and see move. Low risk, whatever.
He's in AAA right now, so.
Just really quick, for those of you who have tuned in, thank you for being here. Make sure you like this video, go on the YouTube channel, find the Lasagna Show, subscribe, support the channel, and let's go on this adventure together throughout the rest of the season. Have some fun with it. We got Jordan in here today talking some ball. Going over the Yankees and Orioles most recent series. Right now we're touching on game 1. So obviously for the Orioles, they scored the majority of their runs early. After the third inning, they didn't score a run again. And the big impact offensive situation for them was O'Hearn hitting
the 3-run homer
for that 3-run homer. And that was pretty much it for them. So, we found ourselves in another situation where our starting pitching kind of put us behind the 8 ball. Will Warren did struggle. He went 3 1/3, 6 hits, 4 earned runs, gave up that home run. His ERA is at 5.63 right now. What were some of the things you saw for Will Warren? And what do you expect for him going forward, as we've seen a couple of rough starts from him, last couple times around?
From what I've seen from Warren is one thing what he's done, especially when he started the game, was he was attacking fastball, 4-seam. And that's been like an effective pitch from the previous start before. He's leaning in against the Guardians, using that 4-seamer to get in. Especially like a big thing is that he's not really getting in. They're stacking lefties. And so he needs to be able to put that 4-seamer on the inside the plate. You got to get these hitters uncomfortable. Like I could sound like Jeff Nelson right now. You got to throw inside sometimes. You got to show him, because if you can't open up that sweeper or that changeup, especially when he's never really landing them for strikes either, he can't. You can struggle as a major leaguer if you can't land your secondaries. They'll just sit fastball. They'll just wait for you, and then that puts you in a tough position, because he had 6 hits, 2 walks, and 3 1/3. That's 8. That's not what you want. I know he had the Grish misplay. I don't want to talk. I know I don't want to talk on your boy T-Rank.
T-Rank, come on, man! You gotta make a play on that damn ball.
I would say if that one, and then when Peraza, I kind of made me gripe a little bit, is when he took the inside track, when he had when Volpe was throwing into that lane, he should have just stayed on the outside of the bag. You got to stay there, because then it keeps, Volpe has to make the throw. You're going to have him coming in, the runner's coming into you. And then he catches the ball pops out. So I think 2 misplays kind of costed Warren some runs. And then, the big homer from O'Hearn, he was just in a bad count. He was, I think it was a 2-1 count. So, driver's seat, Warren's a young pitcher, so he's trying to just get effective. And so he's just throwing a strike right down the middle. And, big league hitters, especially O'Hearn, since he came to Orioles, you're not going to make a mistake.
Yeah, I mean, it was a 2-2 count to a guy who can absolutely rake. And
who doesn't strike out that much on 2-strike counts.
Yeah, so, you got a solid threat up there. Definitely can do damage. 2-2 count. He misses inside with the breaking ball. I'm assuming it was supposed to be down and in with 2 strikes. Obviously, you want to start that thing right around the knees, bottom lower quadrant on the inside to a lefty, and break it out of the strike zone, back foot. He left that thing hanging, and O'Hearn absolutely did not miss it. So this has kind of been the thing with Warren so far. Obviously, he did have some success during spring training. There's some pitching Twitter accounts out there that have highlighted how good his pure stuff is. His four-seam sinker, changeup, sweeper, all that kind of stuff. He's getting some comparisons to Michael King a little bit. So, there's a little bit of hope there. But he's been very erratic. You can have great stuff, but if you're not locating at the big league level, you're going to get punished. So
Yeah.
do you think there can be some Michael King potential in there? Do you think being more accurate is just kind of something you either have or you don't? What are some of your thoughts going forward from Will Warren, and do you think he can be a solid contributor going forward, or is this kind of who he's going to be for his career?
I do, especially when you do like those like hollow, side by side videos. You definitely get a lot of Michael King look and the stuff on like metrics play. One thing about King when he was coming up, he had the velocity. He was throwing 97,
Yeah.
98. And so he had the incredible movement, and then Kluber taught him that Klubot ball that was stupidly insane good.
That was a difference maker for him.
That was the difference maker for him. But for the thing with King, especially I think for Warren as a young starter, is he's gotta count leverage. He's got to put himself in favorable counts because like I said, when you're a young hitter or a young pitcher, is that you don't want things to unravel quickly. You want to be able to try to control the situation. So when you're behind an account where you got to get into it, you're not going to just like, okay, let me just try to throw this 3-2 or 3-1 breaking ball. Let me just try to get it. Let me try to pump a strike. And so a lot of big league hitters, especially when you're facing good ones, like Warren's faced a pretty good amount of decent hitters, and that he's getting beat on, And so the big thing for him is that he needs to be able to, he needs to land the secondaries. Secondaries landing for strikes makes it so much better because if you can land those pitches for strikes, you can throw those pitches up the zone because the hitter's going to see it's like, oh, it's going to get there. Then no, too late. So he's got to be able to first, and it's Rodon's biggest issue too. Getting count leverage will help you as a pitcher. It doesn't matter if you get the strikeout. You can get the weak contact, but you're putting yourself up and sequencing better. Because sometimes I feel like I don't know what sometimes he's thinking when like Wells or Scar's behind the plate is that the sequencing can be so like awkward. It's like slider, change up, fastball, or fastball, change up, fastball, sweeper. It's like we got to have, especially when you're lefties. I'm a big guy. I'm like, you got to land those changeups, like show one end zone and you can finish it. And like, I remember telling Johnny this, like if anyone like knows about Kevin Gausman when he was first with like the Giants in his first 2 years with the Blue Jays, man was a master at putting the fastball at the knees or below. If you can do that, then especially with the changeup, it plays so much better because they're going to see it start at the knees and then that movement just falls off the table.
Yeah, that tunneling. You get that fastball on the plane. They say it's on a rope. Just plant that heater right at the knees, and then you could tunnel the changeup off of it. Because obviously, with the changeup, you're keeping the arm speed the same. Out of the hand, it can look like a heater. You're geared up. You're going, sitting heater. Think it's going to be a heater because you just dotted that at your knees before. The mile per hour difference and a little bit of the sink to the change in the tail is going to get you to swing and miss if you can locate it, though. So, like you said, account leverage is huge. When I was playing in junior college, one of the big things they always graded us on was 1 of 2. One of your first 2 pitches in an at-bat has to be a strike. At minimum, the count needs to be 1-1. So from there, you can have some count leverage. Count leverage is huge. That's a great point that you bring up because
I'll bring this up real quick. This is not about Yankee thing, but this is from what I've heard from always when Seattle plays us, is that when a big analytics thing is them, especially for their pitchers, they emphasize the first pitch strike. Why is that rotation so well? It's not, yes, they have crazy stuff, but they put themselves in positions where they can start using, like, hey, let me get ahead. I could start wasting pitches. I could start throwing the splitter. I could start throwing this curveball. I could start throwing this, cutter. Throwing that first pitch strike opens up everything to your arsenal because as a hitter, especially if you're a younger hitter, you're thinking, okay, I just saw the best pitch I probably could have seen. Now what he's going to go next, especially like a guy like George Kirby's probably the best at mixing up what you're going to do, or like Zach Gallen when he carved us up.
Oh man,
he was I think like 14 for 15 on first pitch strikes, and then you saw what happened from there. Curveball, or changeup, getting those things head for Warren because the stuff is good. I'm not gonna lie, the stuff is amazing. It does play up to like King's comparisons, but he needs to be able, like you said, to be at least within the first two pitches in a 1-1 count because he does not
Yeah,
have the velocity to kind of like the ride is there, the invertible break. I'm still learning that part, but it's like he doesn't have the velocity to always get it by hitters.
right. And like you were saying, getting ahead in the count is huge. And it's hard to get that first pitch strike. It's hard to get that one of two to start an at bat when he is so erratic. So it's got to be something, it could be a mechanical issue. It could be, a grip issue. It could be, there could be a lot of different reasons why a guy could be wild and erratic. His stuff moves a lot. So maybe he just, needs to get out there and pitch more, especially at the big league level, learning. In the minors, you can kind of get away with having, kind of wild stuff that has great break
Yeah,
and great tail and all that kind of stuff and get a lot of chase and get a lot of outs that way. But at the big league level, the hitters are, phenomenal. They got great eyes. They can, pick up the ball
the
and they
scouting
can
reports are up
spin.
there.
Yeah, scouting reports, all that kind of thing. So it's going to be tough for him to kind of establish himself early in the counts, establish himself as a guy who can go 5 or 6 innings when he's been so erratic. So definitely something to
Yeah,
watch going forward will be him,
I would
being a
probably
little more consistent with his location.
I'd probably bring up one more thing about Warren before we move on to the next thing is that his body language too. You got it, like you can tell when he's starting to get frustrated because that's
Yeah.
when you could, especially as a pitcher, you know that like especially if you're not like a psychopath like Scherzer or those guys, you can feel your nerves, especially when you're not really feeling it, and especially if you start showing it. Especially these big leaguers, they could just see it. They could see how you're standing on the presence, how you're just kind of like when you come set, you don't feel comfortable. You're trying to find a pitch. If they can see those little things, especially like when we see like videos on tipping, you're like you would never really notice it, but a big league hitter, those guys are sitting on the dugout every time watching you.
100%.
He's got to be like, and everyone knows that Rodon. When Rodon gets frustrated, you can tell it's like, okay, he's about to throw like this FU fastball that's going to get sent, to the moon.
Yep.
For him, he's got to be able to control his body language a little bit better. We know you're struggling, but you just got to keep it out there. Keep it within yourself. Because when you get the ball back and you kind of swipe it down like this,
Oh yeah.
we all kind of know where you're feeling.
Yeah, 100%. And like you were saying earlier, there's guys in the dugout who, a guy that might not be pitching that day, a guy, an opposition player who's maybe a bench player. A lot of their jobs sometimes during games, they're not just sitting there chewing bubble gum,
Watching
smacking each other
tips.
on the ass. They're picking up patterns. They're looking for sequencing. When you come set, they're counting to see if they're, if you're varying your delivery time. They're charting all of your pitches, seeing if you fall into certain, sequencing
Rhythms, yeah.
patterns depending on the count. They're looking to see if you, move your head a certain way when you throw a breaking ball, if you drop your glove when you throw a changeup. They're looking for all these little things. And as soon as they find one thing, they're going to run to their teammates and they're going to relay the message. So, really good point from you there. And something that, I don't think a lot of people know, but when you got a young player out there, especially when this body language is getting a little funny, and maybe he is tipping, maybe there's different things going on that teams are picking up on. They're going to relay the message to their buddies, and you're going to see them try to take advantage of every little thing possible. So definitely going to be interesting to see how Warren adjusts. Checking out the chat real quick. We see Jones saying Warren and Cresco and Schmidt don't give us any innings. That is very true. Lou
I
says,
would.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I would say hold off on Schmidt. Schmidt just needs to find his cutter. That's like his money pitch, especially when it's working. It's working.
Especially the lefties inside.
Big lefties inside. Especially when you have these shoulder injuries, they're like the toughest thing to come back from, especially command wise. So I would hold off on Schmidt. Even they're ugly 5 innings, but he's giving you 5 innings.
Yep.
It's an ugly, like, how the hell do we get through this? But it's once he finds that and he starts, because a lot of stuff he's missing arm side, and that's just because of the shoulder, and especially because that cutter's just he wants to get it in, but it keep falling arm side, so it's staying middle, breaking balls, not landing on the outside, sinkers riding way too far out. So I would hold off on Schmidt. I'll give him, I think what we did for when Rodon first came off the IL in 2023 was like 5-start minimum. It's like he's still getting built up. So once he gets past that 5th start, I'll start cooking him.
Yeah, 100%. It's there's going to be a little bit of a grace period, like you said. He's trying to find his way back into getting in the rhythm, getting back on a big league mound, facing big league hitters, finding what's comfortable for him. So he's working through some things, but it does give you a third guy in the rotation that's not giving you great length. So the pen has been taxed a little bit. I did see Jones saying here, Cruz, I hope doesn't get burnt out. I agree with you there. He's been used, somewhat a lot early.
Yarborough.
Lou says Warren's biggest issue so far seems to be consistency. Starts off looking great for the first inning or two, then the wheels immediately fall off. Yeah, still, again, he's working through some things, so I expect to see him, once he gets around 5 or 6 starts to be starting to figure things out a little bit. We'll keep an eye on that. Jones says if Warren is our 5th starter, I'd be happy. I agree. I think that's a kind of a low risk place for him to be. You got a guy in the 5th spot that's got really good stuff, who's young, who's trying to figure it out. And he also has a track record of locking innings. So you're going to get hopefully some innings out of that 5th spot as he continues to work his way through figuring out how to be a big leaguer. So I think Warden in the 5 spot could be a good situation. Tina
Jonas.
says, no, go
Tina,
ahead.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
No worries. I'm just going through some of these comments real quick. Sadly, Tina says, sadly, the Yankees let too many runners in scoring position games. 3 for 11 and 1 for 6 in the 3rd game. Absolutely. I think the Yankees were,
we'll
3 for 11 and left 9 runners on base in game 1. So definitely not ideal there.
I'm gonna beat it like a drum,
Yeah, Sagano was just wiggling his way out of jams there. Let's see. Jones says Fried, Rodon, Schmidt, Heel, and Warren in July would be nice. I agree. Also, he shakes off Wells too much. I do think that as well. They need to get on the same page there. Lou says getting ahead is huge for sequencing. Absolutely. And Jones says I like Schmidt. I just want 6 innings eventually. Absolutely. And I think that's the goal for him as he builds himself up.
Definitely got to get through the 3rd time. That's his bugaboo. 3rd
100%.
time's in the order.
So in game
John,
1, my bad. Go ahead.
John, I know you said he shakes off Wells too much. I think, Warren just has to trust Wells in spots because, Wells has shown, especially with Rodon and Cole, he's got to trust his catcher. His catcher is not just his job of just calling pitches, it's reading the swing, saying, okay, he felt uncomfortable. Let's go back to this. Or okay, he had a good swing on this. Let's not go to this. You got to, your catchers spend Trevino, when Trevino said how much time he talked about, those things matter, especially if you can't trust your catcher, what he's relaying, unless you're Fried, where Fried can just go to his own game because who Fried is. When you're one of those top elite pitchers or the ace of your staff, go. If you want something different, go to something different. If you're feeling that, but if you're a younger guy and like Warren, you got to lean into what your catcher's going with because he's gonna he's I hate to use this analogy. He's your dog trainer. He's walking with you, He's not going to let you try to get too far. And if you start trying to get off the leash, he wants to pull you back because he knows, okay, we got to stay here. It's a song and dance. It's a two-man tango.
100%. And, getting on the same page with your catcher is huge, especially on days when, one of your pitches might not be, where it should be. There's days where you come in and maybe your heater feels really good, or there's other days where your changeup is probably your best pitch, or there could be a day where your sweeper or your slider isn't getting the snap or the bite that you want out of it. So, the catcher, not only you guys talking about it, but kind of picking up on it, seeing which pitches are working that day, what reactions hitters are giving you in terms of feedback to those pitches. Are they getting a lot of swings? Are they late? Are they early? Are they squaring it up? Is this guy, leaving stuff middle? Is he getting it below the strike zone where we want it with 2 strikes? Those are all things, obviously, with the cohesiveness you want to see with a pitcher and catcher. So definitely a challenge there. Will Warren's still trying to figure out. Austin Wells is not a veteran either. I know this is going to be his first full season, and he's had, some good reps. He got some good work last season. But a couple of young guys just trying to, figure it out and get their feet, cemented in the big leagues as, everyday players. So, obviously Warren's not an everyday player, but trying to be a consistent, reliable every 5th day starting pitcher at the big league level. So a lot of learning there for them. Taco says, do you guys think Boone is changing the lineup due to some statistical analysis or by feel? In my opinion, seems like he's just doing stuff. I like that, though. I think it is very analytics driven. When they face lefties, you see Goldschmidt at the top of the lineup. There's a lot. They have numbers that we can't even imagine, based on the pitcher, based on guys' tendencies, based on how guys are swinging the bat. There's a lot of different things that are going to go into how they construct the lineup. I'm a little bit of a traditionalist where I like to see the same consistent guys in the same type of lineup structure, on a consistent basis, relatively. So guys, oh, sorry, looks like we had a little technical difficulty there, but
Yeah.
yeah, I like to see a more of a consistent lineup, but I don't hate the fact that they have a lot of information because that could be used to their advantage. What are some of your thoughts on the jumbling up of the lineup?
I'm my thing is I like it depends on who's getting moved and where they're getting moved. Like when Goldschmidt, like the numbers even prove it this season, and he's always been a proven lefty masher. If it's a starting lefty and you put him in the leadoff spot, fine. But my thing is like I love Trent. Don't get me wrong, he's been doing great this year. Double up, like you want that starter feeling comfortable. Like he's like, okay, if I kind of just work around, this guy can kind of get to the left. You can, especially in those situations where it's like 2 outs and starters, just trying to finish out through the inning. He can think like, okay, let me just kind of dance around goldfish,
Oh,
and then I
goldfish
can,
with the
can
with the
dance around
hammer
it,
forearms.
and then get to my personal matchup. I'd love Judge to like Judge has been killing the ball. He's been killing lefties, especially in those kind of things. I think Judge should always stay two. Just you want your best hitter getting like that analytical thing. He gets more at bats, but especially lefties doubling up on like righties. Because you're not going to really worry about goldfish if there's a goldfish on it. He got me stuck on it.
That's going to be that man's name, man. It's going to stick.
I
It's
know,
going to
but
stick.
you shouldn't worry about Paul Goldfish. You shouldn't worry about him when there's a righty lane open. He's too good of a hitter. He's shown this year he's been able to push the ball to the right center gap. I wouldn't worry about him, And with those lefties, do that little bounce. Go with Trent lead off, or. But the biggest thing is I don't know if he's what Boone's thinking too is like he wants to be able to get guys on base for Judge. So if you put him down, then there's more people. You can't pitch around him. I understand that part, but sometimes I feel like some guys like have a harder time getting like situated if like some guys, especially like Dominguez or like Volpe still getting used to stuff or like that kind of up and down. Wells has been going up and down. It's like guys can't get comfortable with their routines if they are very routine based.
Yeah, and we know baseball players are creatures of habit. So I'm not a big league player. I refer to when I played back in the day. Back in the day, I sound like I'm fucking 50 years old. But I referred to when I played a lot because baseball players are baseball players. If you played at the high school varsity or the college level, I mean, you're seeing somewhat of a high competition level. You're seeing a lot of the things that still continue through the minors, through Major League Baseball. Guys are very routine oriented. Guys have their situations. They get to the ballpark at a certain time. They get into their their pregame stretching routine. They get into their warm up routine. They like to structure their days and make them somewhat predictable and consistent. So having that predictable and consistent lineup, sometimes guys like that. I used to like coming to the ballpark knowing, okay, against a right-handed pitcher, I'm going to hit fifth. If it's a left-hand pitcher, I'll probably hit second. And knowing that every game we face a righty, I'm going to be hitting fifth. Every game we face a lefty, I'm going to be hitting second. It's just comfortable because you know how the guy in front of you is going to hit. You know how he approaches things. You can expect him to either take a lot of pitches, so you can kind of gauge the pitcher and see what's going to happen, or maybe that guy in front of you likes to swing at the first pitch, so maybe you might have to go up there and work the count a little bit better. If you're hitting fifth, there's probably going to be runners on base, so you got to be more of a situational hitter depending on what's going on. Maybe there's one out, runners first and third, push the ball to the right side. So different situations arise depending on where you're at in the lineup. So some guys like that consistency, but the Yankees are very analytically based, and they're going to put guys in situations where the numbers are saying that they've been successful. They're going to put them in situations where there's a track record pretty recently of the numbers showing some pretty positive results. So the thing, the consistent lineups are probably a thing in the past, but it kind of is what it is, and we kind of got to move on. So Let's see. Lou says, I like the idea of guys carving out a spot in the lineup. I know it's more of a new school thing to mix and match, but I like seeing consistent lineup every night. I think the players do too. It's an adjustment for some guys, but we'll see if they can, continue to hit well like they have so far going forward with a lot of young guys in there. Jones says, what are the odds Trent keeps this up? I mean, the back of his card says no, but it is his walk year. It is his walk year, so we can probably see an uptick in production, but I definitely don't think he's going to have a 1,000 OPS for the rest of the season. Yeah, go ahead and chime in.
I will say, I think my thing died.
You're good.
Hold on.
I can still hear you.
Oh, okay. Can anyone hear me?
You're good. You're good.
My head
Where's
up out of no reason. So will regress, yes, but I think when it comes down to it, he'll still be like an 800 OPS bat. And the reason why
massive if he could be.
It's the most frustrating thing everyone saw last year is he didn't swing the bat. That was the biggest thing because teams would see that he doesn't swing in zone. So just pour it in. What did the Yankees tell him? Swing.
Yeah.
So a lot of these teams are like, okay, they're still adjusting because now they're seeing a new Trent Grisham. So they're like, okay, let's try to put it in the zone. Let's get ahead. And now he's swinging that first pitch. He's swinging at pitches. You want him to swing because he has power in the bat. And the thing is, when he did swing last year, he didn't miss a ton. So he didn't whiff a lot. So, it's like, okay, if you can just swing more consistently. And yeah, it's his walk year. So I would think, I want to get paid. I don't want to go out like Verdugo.
Absolutely.
Like,
Absolutely.
No offense, but like a lot of guys in their walk year, they want to perform well. And it's just how it is. And if Trent keeps this up, he's open for a starting job, especially if you could see this. Like, look at Profar. Profar is an exception because he stuck a needle in his butt. But you'd see like the little things. He got a 3-year deal. And, Trent Grisham plays amazing center field defense. Knowing that, this guy can bring some pop.'s going to probably hit 20 homers this year. He's going to get on base. And he plays great defense. You can look at him right now if a team in need, maybe not like, top, I wouldn't pay him top dollar, but you could look at him for a 3-year, maybe $70 million deal, similar to Profar, and especially that, I would think so. I think he will regress in a sense of like, he won't be hitting home runs every time or stuff like that, but he's going to be able to make more consistent contact and he's be able to get on base. And he's always going to play that nonchalant defense that you're going to get.
He's smooth as hell, man.
It's smooth. I'm telling you, boy.
Our friend Eddie Snap says when the camera panned Dominguez on Tuesday when Gibson was giving up meatballs, you could tell Jason was upset that he's not part of it. That was the SpongeBob meme where Squidward's looking out the window and it's SpongeBob and Patrick having a good time and he's feeling missed out, feeling left out. That was definitely Dominguez that day. Lou says, I think Trent will regress a bit, but if he can get consistent playing time, I don't think there will be a huge fall off. Yeah, if he could be an above average OPS bat, I mean, that'd be huge for them. Ian says, goldfish. Let's go. There it is.
Well, I don't know if you can see it, but it's SpongeBob staring at Mr. Krabs. Krabs is boom. Dominguez is Jason. Like, why you going to keep me out of it tonight?
Oh, yeah. It's like a big party's going on and he didn't get involved, man. He looks so sad.
It's the perfect analogy of when you miss a day of school. Everything happens.
All the fun stuff, all the cool stuff happens.
Beyonce showed up. The teachers like bought us a bunch of crap. We got to hit him with pies, that kind of stuff. That's what he basically missed out on,
Every time.
No homework, no test, yada yada. Everyone passed, and he's the only one that still has to take the test.
Right. Taco Like says it's so frustrating when the analytics don't work just because the data shows the advantage doesn't always mean it's going to work. Or even if it gives you the best chance. For example, players hitting through the shift or taking Tim Hill out for Nestor. Oh, Tim Hill out for Nestor. You just hit me right in the heart, man. I still haven't gotten over that, man. I'm still in rehab for that shit, man. How dare you bring it up? I'm just kidding.
Oh my goodness. I will agree.
Real quick, it's something Michael K has brought up often on his show. That the analytics are largely based on 162 game simulations to give them the best predictable outcomes throughout the course of a long season. when you get to the playoffs, the 162 game season trends could change. Situations change. Big moments, bright lights. Some guys play above their baseball card numbers. Some guys play below their baseball card numbers. So some of the analytics kind of do go out of the window come playoff time. Something Michael K's talked about a lot. We see it with Aaron Judge. Unfortunately, he's literally Barry Bonds in the regular season, and then you get to the playoffs, and he's Alex Verdugo. So it's definitely tricky. But Taco like says make a good point. When those analytics don't work and you kind of got some funky stuff going on, you're kind of like, what? But it is what it is. D Train says, what do you guys think about Dominguez batting righty? Ditch it or write it out in hopes he improves.
Gotta write it out.
It's only been a month. I want to see more of a sample size. I want him to face more lefties to try and get better at it. But it's going to have to be a wait and see type of situation. Jones says Dominguez had 2 hard hit balls right-handed last game, but I think he needs to concentrate right field. Definitely needs to focus on the defense, but the 2 hard hit balls yesterday were a positive sign. Definitely encouraged by that. So we'll see if he can continue that. And then Ian says T-Rent. That is the man right there. I got a jersey that says T-Rent on it. Had to do it. I don't think there's another jersey in the world like that.
No better jersey.
It's a one-of-one jersey, and I'm gonna rock that shit as much as possible.
Gotta get it signed. Now you gotta go get it signed when they come.
Oh man, that'll be really hard to do. It'll be so tough.
No, it's not. It's not. We're gonna make it happen.
I gotta find his socials and get connected with T-Rent to get that.
No, he doesn't use social media. He is like he's an old newspaper
he's in his own world, man. Ian says fire jersey. Thank you, my dude. I had to do it. Okay, so let's move on to game 2. A little bit more happy vibes. The Yankees won 15-3 on Tuesday. That was not only your favorite Carlos Rodon vintage performance that we saw from him when he was in San Francisco, which are the starts I yearn for from Carlos Rodon. There's nothing I would want more than that dude throwing 98 plus, blowing dudes away and being in Cy Young contention. So I'm very excited about that. But let's start with the Orioles. Kyle Gibson making his season debut for the Orioles. The Yankees were pretty rude. It was not a welcome. Even though Gibson was pitching at home, he goes 3 2/3, 11 hits in 3 2/3. Holy shit. 9 earned runs, gave up 5 home runs. This was the game where, we had 4 in the first inning, I believe.
3 back to back.
And then Bellinger ends up popping 1. So 5 home runs. His ERA is currently 22.09. So that is not ideal way to start your season. But they did squeeze in Charlie Morton in there to get some work. He's been struggling as a starter. Came in during that game, trying to give him some
allocation.
He went 2 1/3. They gave up 1 run. It was unearned. So interesting to see there. Orioles offense didn't do a ton. I know Gunnar Henderson hit one that was way inside. I think it was way inside. Maybe that. So he did get one. But let's focus on your boy Carlos Rodon. You are the premier Carlos Rodon fan on the Twitter sphere.
Where do I start? My bearded king.
I was a big proponent of the Yankees signing him when they did.
Very excited. I was wanting him at
that first season for him was awful. It was terrible. I felt like shit. I felt like a dummy for wanting him in the first place. He was injured. He was out of shape, whatever. Last year, he comes back, definitely showed some positive signs of, getting back to what he could possibly be.
Carrico gave him the homer.
Just waiting for that San Francisco version. This season might be the difference. The beard has been regrown on this man's face. Could be the difference. I'll never have none of that, man. I can't get it.
I got scrubbed too. I can't do it.
The beard rule does not apply to me on the New York Yankees. I am, very challenged there. So very unfortunate for my gene pool. But looking at Carlos Rodon's last 3 starts, they've been fantastic. Against Tampa Bay, he went 6 innings, 2 hits, no earned runs, 9 Ks. Against Cleveland, he went 7 innings, only 4 hits, no earned runs, 8 Ks. Against Baltimore, he went 6 innings, took a perfecto into the middle of the game, which was fantastic. I know Michael K always tries to ruin it by saying no hitter and perfect game out loud.
Tell your neighbors.
As a superstitious baseball watcher, I can't stand watching that and hearing that. But so he goes 6 innings, 2 earned runs, 7 Ks, his 3rd straight start, having success. What are you seeing from him early? Is it only the beard that's the difference, or what are you seeing from him tendencies wise and pitch sequencing that's been the the differentiating factor for him early in the season after a little bit of a rough start?
Um, Definitely. I was talking to with Johnny before we got started, but the biggest thing for Rodon is the stuff it can play if he's locating it. Like, you know, we always like get mad at when he throws that 93 down the middle. And one thing I think that's definitely helped him, and I would this is another Matt Blake masterclass, is adding a sinker for him, because especially when he's in those count leverages where he's behind in the count, he throws that sinker, and this guy's fully gearing up for a heater, and then they'll roll over and hit a ground ball, because his ground ball rate I think at 58 this season. So doing that plus with striking a lot of people out, so that's been a good thing for him. And then just being able to work off the changeup more, that he's able to throw it 20-25% to righties, and that's what we've been begging for last year. Especially when we like. If anyone, no one will really care, but I remember talking about this Twitter Spaces when the season was coming up, I was banging on the drum for him to keep throwing that changeup because it's on par with Tarek Skubals.
Wow.
Tarek Skubal, the 2024 Cy Young winner. So if you're talking about how good that changeup is, think about Tarek Skubal. And now you're seeing that 97. If he's starting to get more conditioned, the weather's warming up. If he can just sit around 95, and then he can pocket that 98 when he needs it. And the sliders have been looking a lot better, a lot crisper, because you're seeing a lot of these righties get a lot of ugly swings. Yeah, they're check swinging. They're expecting that heater, and it just back foots them. And so you're really liking that he's been on the attack too. Is that he's not wanting to put himself in counts where he has to like give a lot of damage. That he's starting to limit the walks. Like I think in the last start he had 2 walks. This start he has 1 walk. That was his big bugaboo too, because it's not like when you'd see the 3-run homer, but it'd be like the line was like 5.2, 2 hits, 4 walks, 4 earned. So if he avoids, every pitcher, I think that's been the Yankees' biggest problem too, is that they're giving free passes. And that's how teams have been lauded. A lot of walks have been bringing guys into the game. And it's like games where we think we're sitting comfortably. We're like, okay, maybe we could go turn on our Netflix show, or we can go get started dinner. And we come back when like, what the fuck? It's 7-6. Like, they gotta limit the walks. Leiter, I think that's Leiter's biggest bugaboo. Is that why everyone's getting so mad at him? But Rodon's looked really good. I'm encouraged of what it's doing and how much it's building off of him. And I feel like that beard did give him some confidence, because now you're like, he's in his own skin again,
Yeah.
And now he doesn't have to think about every 4 or 5 days. Okay, let me get going. Yeah. And I don't think it entirely bothered him, because he wouldn't have signed either. He knew what was coming. Yeah. But now you're a little more relaxed. You can just kind of do you. And now that he has that 3rd year, he's been under Matt Blake for a long time. And so now especially now you have Cole and Fried, where you have one who's a power pitcher and one's more of a finesse. Now you're getting, especially now he's mixing in best of those both worlds. It's just going to make him that better of a pitcher. So, as long as he limits the damage contact, he's going to be fine.
100%. And a big thing with him last season that was a problem was giving up those 31 home runs. It was a ton. So I'd love to hear that the ground ball percentage has been increased. Some of that is the sinker. Some of that is getting right-handers to pound that changeup into the ground, which is fantastic. So we love to see that. What's very encouraging as well this season is his
he's leading the league leading in strikeouts.
Yeah, leading the league in Ks. The batting average against is 154.
58.
So the hitters are having a tough situation against him. His whip is under 1.
Even better.
So that is very encouraging to see. 52 strikeouts and 42 innings pitched. So he's more than.
And he's giving innings. I think he could go more. Sometimes I think Booney's just trying to it's like, we got the start. Let's shell it here, like, because you'll see him have like 80-ish, 5-ish pitches, and you're like, let's see him go to the 7th. Then you'll see like someone else come in. I think Booney's like, we got what we needed from you. You punched out 8. We don't want to get from here, because you could tell when he starts to get fatigued. That fastball starts to kind of leak and that stuff. So,
Yeah.
I think part of it, because that's the biggest thing, which I've loved from Fried and Rodon, is that they've been, especially Fried, they've been stoppers. They've been able to, give length when this bullpen that's been really burnt is that they're able to go 5, 6, 7, they're giving you that length so that bullpen can take a break. Because when you have guys like Carrasco and a Warren, where Tim Hill or Ryan Yarbrough had to get up, get loose after they just had their cup of coffee by the third inning.
Right.
And then you're
It's
burning.
yeah, it's a great point. Because obviously missing Luis Hill, missing a Garrett Cole, you got some guys in the rotation who are not the guys you planned on being there. You got a couple guys who were struggling to get deep into the games. So the annual concern about the bullpen getting burned out early, like always is, even when Cole and Hill were there, is going to be amplified. Now we're extra, concerned about the bullpen getting burnt out because it's going to be one of those situations where you got 2 or 3 guys in a rotation who aren't getting deep into games, and you're having to, you have your Ryan Yarbrough moment when he can come in and bridge the gap a little bit, but you're not going to be able to use him in consecutive days. It's going to be hard for him to do that, within doing it multiple times within a couple of days. So definitely been a breath of fresh air to see Carlos Rodon pitch deep into games, be effective, be efficient, and give this team what they really, really need, missing a Garrett Cole in the meantime. But want to look at some of the chat real quick. Ian says he's looking good when he's at walk, guys. Good things happen. Absolutely. Eddie Snap says, welcome to the club of not being able to grow a beard, Johnny. It's devastating, man. It's devastating. I come from the church of Nick Swisher's great sideburns, which are what I really wanted for a long time, and I can't grow them. So I am devastated on the inside, sad on the inside. SK24 says, can you touch on Jazz's struggles and why he's batting the way he is this year, his tenure compared to the tenure he had with the Yankees last year? He's a guy that's been around. I usually don't get too concerned about guys who are somewhat established big leaguers having rough Aprils. I know he looks like he's caught in between where he's not on the fastball and he's not on the off speed as well. He's kind of just waving that stuff, maybe guessing a little bit. He just kind of looks like he's in a funk. But even having said that, he is close to the top of the American League home run standings rankings. So he is, hitting mistakes for the most part when they're there. But he's had some really, really bad at bats too, where he's looked really lost. Obviously, I don't expect it to continue. What have you seen from Jazz so far? Are you concerned? Do you think he'll come out of it once he's back from this little injury? And what is your overall impression of him so far?
In the beginning, we liked the Milwaukee series. And like how that was a big offensive showing, and then early. I just think sometimes is that he'll go up there and he'll command the zone very well. Like you can see it. He'll do. He says he's been doing that little shuffle for a while. It's like times he's like, okay, he's going to command the zone. He's going to, hold what he's doing. He's going to watch the pitches. And then sometimes you could just start swinging out of his shoes and you're just like, what are we swinging at? So I think sometimes his plans can kind of be like at bat to at bat. And especially like, I think it was in game 1 against Ugano after he got hit by the pitch, you can tell he just wanted to go yard just to like stick it to him. Because those, they're uncharacteristic swings, especially from what we saw Jazz last year, is that even when he had 2 strikes, he was okay with just kind of like getting an open stance and just kind of his hands are quick. So he can just flick the ball. Quick hands. And so I think, and I think sometimes it's the numbers too, telling him, like if he can hit the ball hard and pull it in the air, it's gonna, with the short porch, it's gonna go a long way. So I think sometimes he's leaning into that. So, I want to see the strikeouts come down because even if you luck into some hits, it's something, and any hitter will tell you a hit is better than nothing. It could be a chopper. Someone could have tripped on their shoe. You could care less how you got
a knock is a knock.
A knock is a knock. I
think
think
rope in the books.
Yeah, Urias had like that little dribble at the end, and he was like looking at Doug. He's like, "See, like I got the wheels." Like he knew he didn't hit it good, but he's like, "It's a hit." It counts with the stats.
A hit is a hit. So I overall, I'm not concerned about it. It's a rough start for sure. I think he's kind of in the Bellinger boat for me. where we've seen, production before from them. They're veterans of some sort. They are off to a rough start, and I don't expect it to continue. Because Jazz had a great season last year. Bellinger had a solid season last year, had a really good one in 2023. So I don't see that lasting. Lou says, referring to Rodon, the streets say he's mid. The streets, are very reactive. I can be reactive too. Not going to lie. There's been times where I've been very frustrated with Rodon, but I do own a Carlos Rodon jersey, not a jersey with a J. I have the jersey with the SH on the front. So I'm somewhat committed, but I'm not fully committed. So I need to see.
I have it. I'm a shill. I haven't bought the jersey, but I did say if he did have under 3 by the All-Star break, he would be on the mantle. Ben Rice too. Oh my goodness. We got screwed. Michael K thought that thing got sent to fucking the warehouse. I was pissed.
Oh man. Yeah, Ben Rice has been fantastic. Let's see.
Gonna have a serving of rice tonight. No diddy.
So SK24 says, do you think he's maybe a little too excited from the Brewer series and tries to hit the ball a mile every time?
It's the analytics.
Big leaguers are very day-to-day, game-to-game. So what you did yesterday,
judges like the king of that.
Give any type of hint to what tomorrow can be. Obviously, hitters get into rhythms, they get into zones, and you want that streak to last as long as possible. But you're seeing a different starting pitcher tomorrow. You're seeing it's a completely different situation tomorrow. So you can't really take the Brewers series and, base your production and your approach and all those different things from that going forward. There are times where guys get a little homer happy, but I think he's just caught in between a bit and just needs to get back into rhythm. And I trust that he will. I know he's kind of banged up right now. Hopefully he's not going to miss a ton of time.
But one more thing to note about Jazz. Yep. I know you're talking about it. Someone posted on Twitter. I really wish I remembered the name so I can credit them. They posted a thing about the most pitches in zone and whiffing. Volpe and Jazz were at the top of that list. So if they can especially they're not they're dotted pitches. These are very hittable pitches. If Jazz can Volpe's starting to do it now, you're starting to see that turnaround. He finally got the day out. He turned into Barry Bonds. So if they could just make that more in zone contact too, because they're whiffing a lot. When you're whiffing in zone on hittable pitches, it's gonna bury you. Because now, especially as a hitter who's struggling, and I know because when I first got up in high school and I was playing, my coach called me up to go play with the varsity guys, and so I'm thinking I got all this confidence in the world, I'm with the big guys and I'm swinging out my shoes and I'm down in the dumps and now you're up to bat and you miss a pitch and now the mind starts racing.
Oh yeah.
And as a big league hitter, they still are able to stay present within the moment. But you can still tell, even with Judge in the World Series, you could, even though he will never say he has a good composure type of person, but you could tell the mind starts spinning oh, this is not happening. This is not happening. We got to do something. Now you're trying to fix it all in one swing. Guy throws a pitch way over your head, but you're still swinging at it because you're I'm trying to get out of this really quickly.
Right. And sometimes sometimes you try to ambush. You hope a heater's coming. You see pitch out of hand. You read it as heater. It could be a split, and all of a sudden you're waving like a helicopter, or it could be something else.
Looking like
sliders. Yeah, sliders for a long time out of the hand look like heaters until you pick up that little red dot. And by that time, the ball's broke 6 to 7, 8 inches, and you wave like a crazy person. So
you're not even looking at your third base coach. You're just I already know. Don't even say anything.
Don't need to see it. Don't want to hear it. I'm just walking back to the dugout. SK24 says, what are your opinions on Dominguez so far, how the Yankees have managed him? I'm not a huge fan of the spotty play, but I do understand that there's a bit of a logjam in the outfield right now. I know Grisham is hitting phenomenal. They're paying Bellinger a lot of money, and he needs to play more to, get back in the swing of things. So he's got to play every day. Judge looks great. So, it's going to be tough for them to squeeze Dominguez in there. I think I can't get too mad at it because, like I just said, there is a logjam out there. But I want to see him face more lefties. I want to see him get more consistent playing time versus righties as well, obviously, because that's the better side that he hits from. And he's only 22 years old. So hopefully he can make the best of his opportunities that he does get, even if it is spotty for now. I think, things usually have a way of playing themselves out. Someone gets hurt or someone struggles. I don't think T. Rent is going to hit, a 5 million OPS for the rest of the year. So there will be some regression there. There will be an inevitable slump that will take place, and Dominguez will see some more playing time. But yeah, it's tough for him right now. Nobody expected Grisham to be hitting like this. It was, in the beginning of the season. Yeah, in the beginning of the season, Dominguez was going to be a starter day one and play the whole year consistently. And then, you kind of got to go with your hot hand sometimes, especially when you're trying to, face teams like the Orioles, who are division rivals. Got to win those games. So definitely tricky there. Let's see. B Killer 732 says, hopefully Jazz turns it around soon. I saw a stat a little while ago from Katie Sharp that Jazz has been hitting 118 since the Brewers series. Yeah, maybe he got out of his approach, after hitting a few dingers. Maybe he's, he take advantage of some kind of crappy pitching against Milwaukee and then started facing better pitching, and he's not all the way ready for that. But again, I think he's caught in between right now. It's a bad place to be as a hitter. You're early on the breaking stuff, you're late on the heater, and you just can't figure out, which one to sit on, which one to, make sure you're going to punish when it's in the strike zone in your zone. So I think he'll figure it out. I really do. Hopefully he doesn't miss too much time for the little side issue that he has, but I do think he'll turn it around. Okay, so we finished game 2, on to game 3, which was yesterday. Another close
in with this one.
Another close loss. Tough, the second 1-run loss in the series. Again, we wanted them to kind of take advantage of, the Orioles struggling, see if you can get 2 out of 3 or sweep, bury them even more, because inevitably they're going to make a run. They got a lot of talent on that team. Yankees lose 5-4 in game 3. You are only as good as your next day starting pitcher, and the starting pitcher yesterday was Carlos Carrasco, who wasn't great. He goes 3 1/3, gave up 8 hits. That's a lot of hits in 3 1/3. 4 earned runs. He did have 5 strikeouts. The changeup did look good at times, but he wasn't, consistent enough in the strike zone with his other pitches throughout that, 3 1/3, where he did struggle. So not ideal. Did give up 2 home runs. His ERA is up to 5.90. Not great. So, two starts out of this series. You got Warren and then you got Carrasco not giving you length. You're having to dig into your bullpen. They're putting the offense behind early. Sometimes it's hard for the offense to come back from that, unless you're facing Kyle Gibson, which you can't do every time. But what are some of the things you saw from Cookie Carrasco? Do you think he might find his way out of the rotation here soon? Is there anyone coming up like Beater or someone who might be ready sooner rather than later? What is kind of your first impressions on, what yesterday looked like and what they might do going forward with Cookie?
I don't even have words to, honestly, because it's honest. Like Cookie Carrasco, he's given like some okay starts, but the problem is it's like, you're a veteran who's lost a lot of stuff. You don't have that sink on your sinker anymore. That changeup doesn't move as much. Carrasco, especially, yesterday, he just could not really land the off-speed pitches like Warren. He got a few strikeouts in there. I think it was 5 on the line. So he
did have 5 strikeouts, and a lot of that did come on that changeup he was throwing.
Yeah, because you got young lefties, you can always get them out in front. You're still a veteran guy, but the problem is just like you don't know who you can go to, because then you're like, okay, who in the farm system can I dip into? Who's ready right now? And the only person name I've been hearing throwing around is Alan Winans, and it's at the same time of course everyone's like, oh, we can, anything could be worse. Trust me, there could be a lot worse. You can always be careful for what you wish for. Yeah, everything's good. I would love to see another guy get another chance. But it's just what the cards the Yankees were dealt. So I can't really blame Boone or blame Cash, because you weren't expecting Carrasco to really get a start. You were expecting, okay, he stays in until his opt-out in spring training, and then he might go somewhere else, because you had Cole, you had Fried, you had Rodon, you had Schmidt, and you had Heel. Heel goes down first. You're like, oh, crap. Okay, well, you have Warren. You just slot in Warren. That's fine. It's not a big deal. You can live with Warren. Then Cole goes down. You're like, crap. Now I got to deal with, Marcus Stroman. God damn. Stroh show. I forgot
One
he
of
was.
our other fantastic options in the rotation once his knee feels better.
He took a front office move. That's if anyone wants to know when Stroman's coming back, I'm sorry to tell you. If anything, he might get one more start. A few more starts. He's got front office shelved. You know, let's just put you on IL. We'll let the IL stretch out until you get paid enough, and the insurance give us enough. We'll cut you there, and then you don't trigger his or wherever till the limit where he won't reach 140 innings.
Yeah.
So from Carrasco, it's just the stuff. It's just not there. You want, especially like when you get a 2-0 lead from Judge and those guys, and then you kind of just like letting them just kind of crawl back into it, and then you're putting your team behind the 8 ball. And I want him to kind of succeed. Like he's supposed to be what Warren is. Like, okay, he's gonna give up runs, but it's not. It's like, okay, he's gonna give you 4 and 3 earned. Like that's all you ask from these guys. It's like, okay, don't completely crap the bed, but just like keep the offense in the game. Don't like let them, because then you saw what happened when the Orioles got the lead. Hyde unleashed every top arm he had to go to. He said he's like, this is a chance to take this series. We haven't won a series, struggling. This could get us out the hole. He's gonna throw everything he has. He threw every top arm he had. He threw Cano early. He threw Bautista's a different animal. But he threw everyone he could. Aiken, he threw him. He's like, there's a chance to win. I'm gonna take it. And so, especially when you have a lefty dominant lineup, and then you have like Aiken, who's a tough lefty, and Cano, who definitely has reverse splits because he definitely has that mean changeup and sinker. Especially when you're in those rubber games, and especially with a struggling team, they're going to do everything they can to win. It's you got to be able to at least keep the boys in it, because they kind of came back, but it's like they came back too late. They were crawling in, and like when you start getting into those later innings, when you have those lockdown relievers, especially Johnny hammers this. Even though Bautista's a big split guy, he throws 99.
Yeah,
like
those guys.
You saw Trent, like he threw that one sinker right in on him. Splitter drops off the table. That is not a fun at bat for anybody, especially because when it starts here, and it just you're like, oh, okay, I see it. No, you don't. It's an uncomfortable. It's an uncomfortable at bat. So Carrasco, you're gonna have to ride him out till whenever he's ready. Unless like he really like kind of like lets it all fall, because you don't know. Maybe next time around he goes 5 and 1 earned. You that's what Boone's thinking, because even though we may be reactionary, they're not thinking like that. They're like, okay, we're still ahead. We're still in first place. Let's just kind of keep trying to ride it out. Judge is hot. Ben Rice is hot. Gold is hot. Like, try to keep riding on this offense. Hopefully it could swing their way into things. But, it does suck when you have Warren and Carrasco kind of sandwiched in between and like a big series. So, Carrasco shouldn't be starting, but it's just what you dealt with. So it kind of sucks.
Yeah, they just kind of got to go with what they got right now. Real quick before we get into the offense, just want to thank all you guys for tuning in here. Good friend Jordan over here from Twitter. You can find him in the tweet that I posted earlier about the show.
I put my Twitter down there. Follow me.
Yes.
I reply a lot. I'm gonna start posting more because I want to be on the show. I want to be here regularly. I want to meet more people. I want to talk ball with them. I do have a lot more rational take thinking than most. I don't do the Johnny card. I do blow up in my head, but I want to be able to be objective to the other side of it. Like, okay, like I was talking to him about Devin Williams, why Devin Williams has struggled. His change is moving more. You can't control a pitch when you don't know how much it's going to move. I think that's what happened with Clase in the postseason. His cutter started moving more than he wanted. And you can't control a pitch that moves so much.
Which is a good problem to have. I mean, those are a Class A cutter and a Devin Williams changeup. Those are two of the best pitches in baseball. So, if those things aren't clicking for them, they're going to be a little bit lost there. But for everyone who's watching right now, please go on the YouTube channel, find the show, the Lasagna Show, hit the like button, like this video, and subscribe to the channel. Not only subscribe to the channel, copy the link to the channel, send it to your friends and family, post it on your social media. I will greatly appreciate that. so we can go on this very adventurous Yankee journey together throughout the rest of this year. It's going to be a roller coaster. It's going to be crazy. But if you subscribe to the channel, I'd love to have you guys, and we're going to make this show, as interactive as possible and have great conversations about Yankees baseball. So yesterday, even though they did lose, there was some good moments offensively. Paul Goldfish, second home run of the year, baby. The forearms are finally putting that baseball over the wall. I said yesterday, it's science from the book of Mark McGwire. Big forearms equal home runs. So it was only a matter of time until Paul Goldfish.
Chicks dig the long ball.
And they dig, the big forearms are a big selling point for males. But what did you think of Paul Goldschmidt not only going deep, but how good he's been this season compared to his overall numbers last year? And we've kind of seen somewhat of his hotter second half from last year carry over into this year. Is this going to be something he can sustain the rest of the season? I know his numbers are very propped up right now by his success against lefties, but do you think he's going to be 1,000? No, not 1,000. 878-ish. Is he going to be an over 800 OPS guy for the rest of the season? And what have you seen so far? What do you like? What do you don't like?
From what I've seen, looking at it, for everyone, I think when he started off, he was like one dotting. So the OPS is coming down to earth. He's starting to not get on base as much, but that's fine. The average is still there. And the big thing, what I've noticed is, especially like if anyone followed his 2022 MVP year, is that he's letting the pitch go where it is. He's not trying to pull it. He's trying to do that inside out swing. He's becoming, especially because he's batting fourth or fifth, sometimes third. He's just letting the situation dictate what he's doing. He's not gonna, okay, I'm on. He's like, I'm leading off. I'm not. I think you've seen when he's lead off, he's swinging at the first pitch. He wants to get aggressive. So he's just taking the situation, and that's just what a veteran hitter is. Especially a guy like Goldschmidt, who's always made really good contact. And so I think he's just kind of leaning more into that like 2-strike base and just like letting the hands kind of flow. So I think it's sustainable. I think he'll be more hovering around between like the 820, maybe high 7s at most, because he's not really slugging. Hopefully he could start picking up some more power, because that's probably what's killing him too, is that he's not really looking for power. But it's sustainable in the sense, I know if anyone really gets into analytics, like he's kind of getting lucky in some things, but a hit's a hit. He's doing a damn good job at it. He's been serviceable at first base. There's been some miscues, but that's just because I think it's just new teammates, and he's trying to read what am I going to do? And the first base covering situation. Oh, duck.
Oh, more PTSD.
So I really like the Paul Gold. Like, I think when people were actually looking at the overlay spray charts. So once he starts tapping into the power, because he hit 22 last year on a really down year, so I think he could still hit 20 at minimum. He'll be a big double singles guy. I really appreciate this, an underrated thing. He's hustling, like especially like on ground balls that he thinks he can beat. He's running them out, and that's the one thing I enjoyed. Even though these guys have hit into like makeshift double plays, they're beating them out. And so that keeps prolonged innings too. I think during the Rays series, they had like 4 made Taylor turn double plays, but we beat them out to keep innings going. Those are huge things. I think this is gold. You're screwing me here. Paulie G. That's all I'm gonna do. Paulie G.
Hey, now he's kind of a New Jersey Shore name. There you go, Paulie G.
Paulie G.
We're going from Paul Goldfish to Paulie G.
Paulie G.
Popeye
Everyone
Farms.
put Paulie G
Getting
in
all
the
type of
chat,
names now.
Like that's what we're doing. We're not doing this goldfish stuff where I got to grab the bag and start eating it.
That's what I picture every time I say it. But I'm looking at his numbers real quick. Obviously he's not going to hit 360 all year. So from his last 30 to his last 15 to his last 7, there has been a drop. He's still hitting 310 in his last 7, which is great. There has been a drop from his on-base percentage. But what we want to see is from his last 15 to his last 7, he has increased the slugging percentage from 448 to 517. The pipes, you got to have, if you got forearms like that, you got to hit dingers. This is the workout.
You grab the cable right here. He just
This man is giving you Im- impressive workout suggestions on the
or just
Lasagna
grab a
Show
grain
in
of
live time. So
rice and
be
just
very thankful. You too could have Paul Goldfish type forearms if you listen to this man. So things
go hit
we love to
some trees
hear.
or something.
And we got to touch on Aaron Judge doing modern day Barry Bonds
Bonkers.
type stuff. I mean, the guy has been, we're kind of jaded because you see something happen for a while consistently, and you're kind of like, that's kind of what he does. But what Judge is doing right now, I think there was some stats that came out today from MLB.com or MLB Network showing over his last last 162 games, he's got like 64 home runs. The OPS, the on base percentage, the average, all those type of things are right there, very comparable to what Barry Bonds was doing at the peak of his prime during all the juicing stuff and all his home run chase stuff. So it's just unbelievable to see a player in the modern day against some of the best pure stuff pitching wise that we've ever seen in the history of baseball. Everything is measured, all the tunneling, all those the analytics for pitching, the sequencing, all that kind of stuff is very measured these days. The stuff is every team has got 2 or 3 random guys you've never heard of that throw 98. So it's very, very difficult to hit in this modern Major League Baseball day and age. And not only is he hitting, but he's doing historic things we've never seen before from a guy that wasn't juicing, which is unbelievable. Lady Red Sox is back in the chat with the Red Sox talk. At least she's consistent. At least she is consistent. But what do you think, Jordan, about what Judge is doing right now? Obviously, a lot of the talk on Twitter goes back to him, having ridiculous regular seasons and not hitting in October, which is not ideal. But for now, we have to, enjoy what he's doing, appreciate it because he is entering his mid-30s. It probably won't happen for much longer, maybe 4 or 5 years. What do you think about what he's been doing lately? And do you think it's something? Is he going to be pushing another American League home run chase this year? Is he going to try to, hit a bit less early on this season? He's hit a bunch of singles, but he's still figuring things out. You're seeing the power come more lately. But what are some of your impressions and your take on what we're watching on a day-to-day basis?
Oh, it's astounding. It's really great what you're seeing. Like if I think everyone's saying this, you really have this is a player you tell like your grandkids, you tell your kids about. He's that kind of player, and it's seeming like, oh, how could he get better? One thing he's done a lot better this year. It's the contact, but the strikeouts. He's under 20%. I think if you looked at it from 2022 on, he's been dropping that strikeout rate. I think he knows that as a hitter, especially as you're going to get old, that bat speed's going to slow down. He's a big guy. You're wondering how he might age with the body. So he's always trying to find ways to fill up, cover up his holes in his swing. And you could tell the biggest thing is when he knows what he has to do. I think he has a better sense. I know what I need to do. He's like, I just need to find a way to work on it. He's stealing what? He's had 3 bags. I don't even think he had 3 bags by the time. He's trying to show Jazz. Yeah, but you gotta be impressive with the stats. And the one thing I think everyone was waiting on is when the power was gonna show. Everyone Aaron Arise, hanging out here for a little bit, but everyone wanted to see Aaron. Everyone wanted to see Aaron Judge. You want to see him hit those big nukes. And over these last few games, you can look from his last 30 on just normal MLB.com. Last 30 he had 770. Last 15 789. Last 7 889. The slug is going up.
That's ridiculous.
And I think when everyone watched this Orioles series, you saw how Adley was setting up. He's like, I don't want this pitch in zone.
Did he bounce one off the back wall? I think for one of those.
Yeah, Povich just airmailed one to his AAA team. I don't know what was happening there, but you got it. And one thing I do like, he can he wants to be able to control the zone. He'll take a bad swing, he'll flush it out, and they'll put one in zone. He'll just rip one for a double. So you got to appreciate the approach. I've always said it. I said it in spaces, and I may just be a believer and an optimist, but for him, his size, and knowing his body so well, and especially with the money he's making with endorsements, you know how much money he's probably pouring into taking care of his body. And I'll say, and
Right.
like I was telling Johnny like a few months ago, he sees Stanton. Stanton's a comparable person to him, and they're I think 2-3 years apart in age.
Yeah.
Stan has all these ligament issues, his lower body soft tissue stuff. It's a lot harder. You can break a bone and come back from it. Soft tissue injuries are what are going to nag you forever. I've torn my shoulder. I get frozen. I know how much it's going to nag me and bother me at times. So I know he's going to age a lot better, and he might start losing some pounds as he gets older to kind of compensate with him being older. But please enjoy what you got. We want the postseason. I think this may be the one, due to just you'll never see him talk about this, but he hears this. You don't think
Oh yeah.
like he doesn't hear. Oh, Johnny's probably his biggest critic. He probably has him like painted on his wall or something like the nice stuff. That he's got to show up, and he knows he has to. And I feel like that's like his biggest thing. He feels like he carries the weight of the world on himself, and that he's like, I got to do it, and he gets uncharacteristic. Just do what you do, because these guys are not really going to want to throw you. If you're making especially this amount of contact too, the contact rate's up, and the numbers back it up that he's not getting lucky. So that's a big thing. It's like, if people are like, oh, it's not sustainable because he's getting lucky. He's like, when he hits the ball on the ground, like I think people are talking about Vladdy, he's hitting the ball like 110 off the ground. You're not going to always field that. So it could be on the ground, but he's hitting it hard. It's going to find a hole, or a guy's going to like dive to their feet, and he's not always going to run it out because he's a big guy. He wants to care about his legs. He's like, all right, I'll just take this one off because I want to be standing.
100%.
So enjoy what you got. Enjoy this now. I do think he is going to go for a home run chase. I don't know whose.
His own, maybe?
I don't if May's his best month. He goes like 15. If he hits over like 10, I think because currently I think he's on pace for 70. It's like we got 6 more months you got 6 more months of ball, hit 10 homers a month.
It's scary what this guy's doing, and it just makes you think, like, what if he didn't go to Fresno State? What if he didn't play in college for so long?
He went to Oakland and he got drafted out of 2011.
What if he started earlier in his career? Like, what type of career numbers would he put up? Would he be chasing 700 Barry Bonds? We don't want to throw that name around. More PTSD, or not a lot of PTSD going on. Going back to PTSD, I mean, I've been critical of Aaron Judge because, as someone who lives in LA, unfortunately, I've been a Yankee fan since a little kid. My first little league team, my whole family rooted for the Dodgers, and I didn't want to root for the same team that they rooted for, so I rooted for the team I played for. Little did I know I'd get shit for the rest of my life for it. I didn't know any better. I was just a little kid. But I have stuck with it the rest of my life. Unfortunately, the last 16 years have not been ideal in terms of championships and all that kind of stuff. So my adult life as a Yankee fan has not been great. But I do remember 2009 from when I was in high school. So I'm aging myself there. People are going to start calling me Unk. But yeah, I mean, 2009 was a long time ago. It feels like it's been a long time. So, Yankees back in the World Series last year against the team that I see, fans of every day in LA. You live in SoCal as well. It was one of those moments where it's like, okay, this is the series that everyone's been talking about for so long. Everyone going back, a decade.
The 1950s.
Oh, what if the Yankees and Dodgers matched up? Oh, how cool would that be? In the modern day, it would be amazing. Two of the most popular franchises in the sport. So, we finally got the matchup. I know Lady Red Sox didn't want that matchup. They beat the Dodgers in 2018. So, kudos to the Red Sox for taking care of business there. But this Dodger team is ridiculously stacked. They got Ohtani. They got all these guys. Freddie Freeman with his perfect veneers. Got to give credit where credit is due. But, it was just the series everyone's been talking about for so long was finally there. So you're like, oh, my God, this is amazing. It's going to be so good. If the Yankees could win this World Series, it'd be unbelievable. It'd be a great way to get back into their winning ways. And Aaron Judge had a ridiculous season. So you're like, oh, my God, Judge is going to go nuts. He's got
Soto.
Soto's in there. Judge is from California. He's going to feel comfortable there. And games 1 through 3, I think he went 0 for 12 with 7 Ks. and that was pretty much the series. The series was over after that. So you fall down 3, not a great chance of coming back. We're not going to name 2004, which I just did, unfortunately, but just a lot of PTSD on the show. I shouldn't have done that, but it was just a huge letdown. And a lot of Yankee fans since that Aaron Judge struggle in the World Series have kind of been, we expect the crazy historic regular seasons. We know it's going to happen again. We know all season it's going to be talk about what pace he's on and how he's comparing to, other historic hitters and all this stuff. And a lot of the fan base, I can think of a couple right off the top of my head, have been in the mindset like, cool story, bro. I'm glad you're hitting phenomenally, historically great in the regular season, but October was
do it when it matters.
It's been a disappointment lately, and we'd like to see that change to give him the full credit that we want to give him, that he does deserve for being a historically talented player on the Yankees, which we should be enjoying. But to me, it feels like Peyton Manning before he got a ring. It feels like A-Rod before he got a ring. It feels like LeBron before he got a ring. A historically great regular season talent who just can't get that one ring to get the monkey off his back. And it's been kind of frustrating for us. But going back to his regular season, we got to enjoy it. It's hard to put October behind you because it was so disappointing, and they haven't won a ton in the last decade plus. But you kind of got to take a step back. You got to understand what you're watching is historic. Enjoy it, while he's around, because there's going to be a day where you look back and go, damn, like Aaron Judge was really, 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 really good historically. And, we kind of took it for granted because of his postseason struggles. But hopefully that changes after he wins a chip eventually. If he ever does, God forbid he doesn't. But, going back to why I was kind of critical of Judge, that was kind of recent. But
he was relapsing. Sorry, guys.
I just been going through a lot of therapy, and
got it. Someone give him this.
Really, it's not working. I'm just kidding.
Give him some Blue Mountains. Let him
just down kidding. But going back to Game 3, Devin Williams had a better appearance. He's looked more comfortable in the setup role. As you said earlier, his changeup has been moving a ton, so maybe that has something to do with him. Trying to find his groove. Try to locate that changeup better, which we'd love to see. Mark Leiter Jr. finished the game. He went 1 inning, had 2 strikeouts. ERA's down to 2.70, and he was throwing 95 miles per hour.
Oh my goodness! I think he threw
95 for Mark Leiter Jr. I fell to my knees in the middle of my living room, and I didn't know how to act. It was amazing to see.
But the star of the bullpen, though. More splitters, please. Fernando
Cruz. More splitters, please, Mr. Cruz.
Let me. Okay, I know this is Johnny's part, but let me get this into you guys. This is a hard part. Look at me here. Look at me here. The lighting's bad. Look at me. Fernando Cruz has been a godsend. He's even though he's not overrun. You see the swings on the splitter. It is literally that good. And then I think it was on Urias. You would think, 3-2. He paints it at the knees. 94. It's not ball, but that's paint. And he's leading the relievers in strikeouts, and it's like he's missing bats. He's not I think that was the big thing when Reds fans were telling us, it's like, he's gonna have the bad innings, or he's gonna do this, and it's like he's gonna give it over. He's not. He's been like the fireman guy. He's like, well, that's Tim Hill. But this guy, when you come into the game, it's like he's gonna miss bats. These guys, even though they're gonna expect splitter. And the thing is, too, he wants to get ahead to get to split. He's not just like starting you off with the splitter. Yeah. One thing I hate, what Leiter does, I think he should ditch it completely. Stop throwing that looping curveball. I hate it. It makes me mad.
I agree. He doesn't need that.
Okay, one more PTSD moment. We all know. Man. Me and my homies hate Big Christmas.
Big Christmas. That is
no. He hit a nuke today. That was like the same spot as Weaver's. If you
saw that, I was gonna tweet.
That was the first thing I saw. I was like, the Vietnam cat meme. Just thinking of like Luke Weaver. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, keep Big Christmas, in storage until December. That'd be great.
And I do think But Fernando Cruz, I love this too. I think he just loves being like, you see the guys like, oh, I grew up being. You could tell this guy really embodies like you
He
could tell
loves
when
it.
he's on the mound. You could tell the presence. The biggest thing about pitchers too, mound presence.
Oh yeah,
He goes in there like knows he's gonna
confident.
do the thing. Yeah, especially on the role he's in. He's like, you could just tell. Like I think when like he struck out the side, he was walking to. He's like, let's go. Like come on. Like you could tell how he's feeling.
Yeah,
That's a confident guy, and that's a guy who
love to see it.
knows this stuff. Yeah, and so you got to enjoy him too. Luke Weaver. I don't even think he got touched this series, but you got those two guys. They have been your godsends. That
Yep.
you have the bullpen's been kind of in shambles with how much the arms have been getting taxed. You don't know what Devin Williams like. If Mark Leiter starts walking people, he's going to give up some 3-run homer. Tim Hill, Tim Hill's going to do his job with this funky reliever. Yarborough's Yarborough. But you're going to have two guys that are going to be able to, shut the doors or get out of innings. You need those guys, and especially like Cruz is going to start working his way in the ladder.
Yeah.
He's getting like that 6th, 7th inning. But when the going's going to get tough and they need strikeouts, they're going to call on him. And he's going to come through because he knows that he's not always – he can't just, always lean into the splitter. He knows he's got to have – I think he's worked a cutter. He's like – I don't even know which pitch was terrible. I think it was the cutter. I don't care. Anyways, he's willing to able to kind of he's keeping the mix. Even though he's going to go to the splitter, he's working. He's like, okay, this is 1-2. You're expecting a split. I'm just going to throw this fastball right up. Miss. It's going to miss upstairs, but now you've seen it. Now, guess what? I'm starting that splitter right at your hip. It's going to fall down, and now you're going to walk out the dugout looking at the Jumbotron like this, like, why did I swing at that?
It is nasty, man. It might have been one of those situations where he did come in, and, the Yankees like to measure everyone's pitches and tell them, what's a good pitch, what's not a good pitch, and try to mold them that way. They do a really good job of it with these relief pitchers. They probably just told them, look, dude, you don't have to throw your fastball as much as you do. Spam that splitter in there, man. You can tell these guys you're going to throw it, and it's still very, very, very hard to hit. So I think him increasing that rate of throwing his splitter has been, could have been the difference so far for him. In his last 9 innings pitched, which is a normal game, he's given up 0 runs and his 13 Ks with a whip of 0.78. The dude is just wiping major league hitters out. And like you said, they know it's coming. Fernando Cruz comes in, you're going to get a ton of splitties. And it's one of those pitches. It's a rare pitch. It's a rare situation where a guy has one pitch that's extremely difficult to hit, and he's going to throw it a lot. And it's so fun to see. On the season, he's got a 1.62 ERA. He's thrown 16 2/3 innings. He has 27 Ks, and his WHIP is 0.84. And he's 35 years old.
I just pulled up his Savant page. The Reds on this is ridiculous.
Oh, I'm sure it's
he misses barrels. Barrel percentage is 0.0. Hard hit, it's okay, but he's getting great extension too. So that's a big thing, especially if you're a splitter guy. Perceived velocity. It's so even though he's throwing like 94, it may look like 96, 97. Then you throw that splitter on top of it. And so his expecting batting average, everything is good. Everything is really good. The numbers show it too. I'm really looking at the splitter. And the hot zones of where he's throwing it is where you want your splitters to be. Down in the zone, out of the zone.
Yes. So keep it out of the top part of the zone. Does it show his usage percentage of that split from 2024 to 2025?
I will. I know. So in 2025, he's at a 55% usage of the splitter. I'm about to pull up 2024.
Okay.
So ride with me, fellas. Okay, so from 2024, he used that splitter 40% of the time.
So that is a huge increase.
So from going about 40% to almost 60%. So that was probably the biggest thing. And you got to give a little bit of slack when you're at Great American Ballpark. It's a very hitter-friendly ballpark too.
It's a tiny place to hit.
Tiny place to pitch. So they had done it, especially because I think this. Let me see. They said it looks more like a forkball, even though it's called a splitter. The spin on it's more like a forkball. So batting average on the splitter is .073. Expected slugs 0.98.
Absurd. Just
Yeah.
ridiculous numbers. And I think I'm not sure if it was someone in our chat before that said they just hope he doesn't get burned out. It could be a situation where there is going to be some regression. I don't expect him to be prime Mariano Rivera with his cutter type pitcher all season. There's going to be some times where he might have some struggles here and there. But so far it's been really good. In 2024, he pitched in 69 games, AO, and he had 66 innings pitched. So, so I think he's at 16 innings so far this season, which is not too bad. He's pitched in 14 games already, so something to watch going forward. Last season was the most games he'd ever pitched in his career. I know he got into the bigs kind of late. He got into the bigs in 2022. So he's only been in the big leagues for a few years, and he's already age 35. So there's not a spring chicken. So maybe the innings might be something, or the games pitched might be something to want to watch going forward. But that's definitely a guy you're going to want to have late in the season when you're making the playoff push, trying to win the division, trying to win a wild card, coming in to get really good hitters out and get guys out of jams. So very encouraging to see that work from Fernando Cruz.
One more thing to add on Fernando.
Yeah, go for it.
I was looking at it. So what makes his splitter even better too is he's getting less spin on it.
They were talking about that yesterday with David Cohn. Yep.
You less spin, especially for splitters. You don't want, like, I think everyone knows that. Or splitters, forkballs, things like that. Low spin is better. So he's getting less spin on it, and then he's getting better extension on it. So
that's
those
amazing.
2 things.
And those are, the Yankees are very analytical with what they do with Matt Blake. These are all things that they're looking at. So, tinkering here and there, trying to make some adjustments on a couple key things could make a huge difference for a guy like him that has a really, really good secondary pitch that he can throw over and over again. So very exciting to see what Fernando Cruz has been doing so far. D-Rails93 says Yankees need to learn how to beat good teams. It's definitely something I've been looking at or keeping tabs of this season. They've beat up on some crappy teams and, lost a decent amount of series to some better teams. It is early in April, so, it's kind of tough to make a blanket judgment, about them not being able to beat good teams so far. I think they do have a pretty good record against teams that are over 500. Okay, so there you go. So they're over 500 against teams that are over 500. So
I would say
pretty solid, but
I would say this month of May, they're playing only, I think, 2 teams that are below 500. They're playing Tampa Bay, and they're playing Colorado. I think Angels are hovering right around 500. They're playing the Padres, the Athletics, I think, are hovering around 500. Seattle, the Mets, Texas, and Dodgers. So I would hold off, wait till this month passes, and then we can come back to it. Because the biggest thing is they're not like getting blown out either in those good games. They're just honestly beating themselves at times. Like, like you got Carrasco and Warren, and you're like, oh crap, now I gotta, there's games we should have won. There's games that, I think the Arizona game when, Leiter blew it, had that grand slam, that game was pretty much dealed, and then when we were supposed to beat Toronto, but Devin blew that save, and then, the Cleveland game, all those little, Escara mishap and Volpe bobble. Yeah. It's never ever like a team like all those things I just pointed out. Those are never like teams like, yeah, you'll still give credit to them because they still have to do the job. But at the same time, they're putting themselves in the situations they don't have to be in either.
Right. So it's April. Now it's May 1st. So it's May. You can't say it's early, because these games count all the same in the grand scheme of things. So we definitely want to see, success from the Yankees early on. We want to see players hitting well. But I know it is cold in April, especially in the New York and the East Coast. Jazz, has voiced his opinion on that a couple times. Some of these guys don't love that. It's hard to hit when it's cold, especially when guys are throwing gas. So kind of tricky there. Tough series coming up against the Tampa Bay Rays starting tomorrow. The Yankees are only 4 games up on the Rays, so hopefully the Yankees can, put some distance between them and kind of bury them a little bit. Looking at the AL East right now, the Yankees are in first place at 18-13. The Red Sox are pretty close at 17-15, only 1.5 back. The Toronto Blue Jays are 14-16, and they're 3.5 back. Tampa Bay is in fourth place, 14-17 record, 4 games back. In Baltimore is 12-18, only 5.5 back. So we got, from last place to first place. I know it's early, but there's only a 5.5 game difference. The Yankees had an opportunity to kind of bury Baltimore by, maybe winning 2 out of 3 or trying to sweep. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. So now we have a division business. Yeah, it's going to be a pretty close. I think it's going to be a pretty close finish all the way to the end. The Yankees' deficiencies in their starting rotation, plus the bullpen maybe being overused, plus a combination of a lot of young players trying to figure things out all at once in the lineup, is going to, have them maybe around 91-ish, 92 wins, which should put them in a position to have a shot to win the division and be in a wild card spot. But again, playing the Rays coming up, you're going to see the Yankees playing well. They're at home. We got Max Fried. Max Fried will be on the hill. Then we got Clark Schmidt. Hopefully he can figure things out. And then Warren's going to get another shot against the AL East team. So hopefully the offense looks good. The pitching figures things out, and the bullpen continues to be pretty solid. Once again, for everybody who is watching, please find the YouTube channel. If you're watching on Twitter, The Lasagna Show on YouTube. Like this video, like the other videos that have been posted, and subscribe to the channel. Not only subscribe to the channel, copy the link to the page, send to your friends and family. Let's grow this thing together and have some fun this season. It was great having you on the show today, Jordan. I haven't met you in person yet. We're going to do that this fun Angels games. But it was nice to at least meet you virtually.
Yeah.
Put it to the name. I like a lot.
Hopefully I didn't sound like too much of a robot to you guys.
No, you're good, man. You add a lot to the conversation, and I look forward to having you on more.
I do have one more thing to add, and this is just for this race series, something upcoming. I knew I was bringing this up about Bellinger. Bellinger's going to turn it around.
He will. I think he will too.
I'm not wrong. I'm just early.
My fantasy team is relying on Cody Bellinger. So
this race series, because they got Pepiot, Littell, Bradley. I think we can get to Pepiot and Littell. You know what Taj Bradley has? His stuff is good. Littell's been their worst pitcher, but Yankees versus worst pitchers. You know how that kind of like funky business goes.
Unfortunately.
So the big thing is just because they've lost their last 3. I think they just got swept. They're a team that's they want to dig themselves a hole, and they know they're not that far back. So
they're scrappy, man. The Rays every year.
They're annoying. I hate walking bed what Devin Williams did. I swear to you, I threw my remote so far.
Not a good recipe for success to walk. Former Yankees legend. You want to talk about
forearms?
That man has humongous arms. Not again
anymore. Deserves 5 big booms.
We can admire those pipes from afar, and hopefully he gets out and doesn't walk again. But once again, thank you everybody for tuning in today. No game, so we did have a series recap show. This Lasagna Show thing is growing and evolving. It's going to turn into a lot of different things, but we want to make it somewhat entertaining. We're going to talk a lot of Yankees baseball. We want to make it very interactive for you guys who do tune in. We thank all of you guys for being here. We will see Jordan again very soon. Expect most shows to be post-game heavy Monday through Thursday. Friday through Sunday, got work and other things going on. Sometimes I like to play golf too as well, so I might not be available for a post game, but Monday through Thursday for sure you can count on definitely seeing some more content from here. Once again, like this video, subscribe to the channel, The Lasagna Show on YouTube, and let's go on this Yankees journey together. Once again, thank you so much, Jordan, for being here.
Pleasure to be on here.
Absolutely, for your first show, the first guest on The Lasagna Show. History was made this afternoon. It was great having you on. I love the Carlos Rodon talk and everything else as well. Once again, thank you everyone for being in here and messaging us in the chat and being interactive with us. We definitely appreciate that.
Watch for Wells. He hits against the Rays.
Need it for my fantasy team as well. Maybe I'm just the homer, but I got like 4 dudes on the Yankees on my fantasy team. So I watch very intently. I watch these games very closely, especially with these guys.
I'm so glad I took Corbin Carroll this year. I'm so glad that it's worked out
Oh,
so
he
well
looks
for me.
fantastic. He looks really good.
I got him through, like, I can't believe he went through the third. I was like, I need a left fielder. I already got Tatis in right. My friend wanted him because he's a big Padres fan, but I was like, I'm just
Embarrassment
gonna,
of riches for you.
yep, just
But,
ringworm and speed.
yeah, hopefully this Yankees series against the Rays goes well. I will see you guys again on Monday. We're starting a fresh new series on Monday against the Padres, which will be definitely one of the best teams in baseball. Going to be a great test for this group as
Pitching
we
wise
the
too.
Yankees
They got
play well against
they
good
got the
teams and try to
pitching.
figure that out. So yeah, good pitching there, good hitting, star power. So that's going to be a very exciting series, and I will see you guys on Monday. Once again, thank you everybody. It was great having you, Jordan, today, and
Thank you
hope you guys
guys.
have a great rest of your weekend. Go Yankees, win this race series, and make us look good. All right, until
Like
then,
and subscribe. Follow me
peace.
at Wilkie. You already know
Yes,
what to
sure.
do.
Find
Be more
him on
interactive
my
on Twitter.
go on my Twitter page, and his is there. Scroll down a little bit. I know I tweet a million times a day, but you will see the posts about the Lasagna show. You'll see at Wilkie on there. Follow Jordan and interact with this man. He will be back soon. Once again, have a great rest of your weekend, guys, and go Yankees.
Go Yankees. Go Rodon.